Cal is in his home getting ready for school. He plays with his dog, Runt, before he heads out. While riding his bike, he runs into girls in a car, and soon Vic and his friends who are doing drugs pull up. At school, he finds a glued-down scent and tries to pick it up, but gets laughed at by a group of guys. A girl named Cecily tries to stand up for him, but he leaves dropping a condom and she picks it up. In class, one of Vic's friends, Hank, tries to cheat on his exam from Cal. Cal moves forward to hide his paper, but Hank forces him to sit back. Soon, their teacher, Tally, notices and calls out Cal to ask him if he is letting Hank from his paper. In another class, he sees a girl named Gabriella, who is Vic's girlfriend. The students are made to sit in groups, and Cal chooses to join where Gabriella is. At lunchtime, Cal shows his friend, Borgie, a picture he made of Gabriella and tells him he wants to give it to her. Borgie tries to tell him not to do it since she is Vic's girlfriend, but Cal thinks she deserves better. In drawing class, the teacher sees that Cal got into UCLA, but he tells her that he's waiting to get into Rhode Island. Cecily asks about his idea and tries to make a conversation, but is stopped by Borgie when he mentions why people call her homeschooled. Cal waits for Gabriella and asks her to go to the homecoming with her, but she tells him that nobody goes there. As she was leaving, he slipped the drawing he made of her in the backpack. He is then stopped by Vic and his friends, who take his bike and force him to tell their teacher Tally that Hank wasn't cheating on his exam. Cal follows them to get his bike back, but they grab him and put him in a barrel before they roll it down to the field. Grabbing his bike, Cal goes to work with bruises when his boss warns him about being late. He gets home and plays with Runt before going to bed. The next day, Cal is called to the principal's office and is questioned about the incident with Vic and his friends. Vic shows up in time and tells Principal Carey that Cal has been stalking his girlfriend and about the drawings too. Cal instantly tells Carey that nothing happened on the field. She takes the drawing and rips it into pieces before sending it all out. One day, as Cal is leaving for work, Cecily shows up and asks about his bruises. She then offers if he wants to get high, but he declines. She continues to ask him if he wants to go to the homecoming with her, but he tells her no. After work, Cal sees Cecily in a corner and joins her. They share a smoke before he takes her home with his bike. Coach Wilkes goes to teacher Tally and asks him to pass Hank as his future depends on football, but Tally tells him that kids need consequences. Wilkes explains that the kids look at him as a way out there and that they need to win for that to happen. In class, Gabriella apologized to Cal, telling him she liked the drawing and invited him to a party at Vic's house. Borgie hears about this and asks Cal if it's true. They both go shooting with Borgie's mom's gun, and Borgie tries to convince Cal to go to the party to know whether Gabriella is into him or not. At the party, Borgie starts to get comfortable while Cal goes exploring. He runs into Gabriella, and she acknowledges him before joining Vic and his friends. Soon Cecily arrives and starts looking for Cal. Gabriella finds her and tells her she knows her from school. As they are talking, Cal sees Cecily and starts talking to her, telling her she looks different. Borgie is drunk and starts to yell, saying that he knows what everyone thinks of him before he forces a group of girls to touch his belly. Cal and Cecily leave after seeing what Borgie is doing. Outside, Cal tells her that Borgie is like a hurricane and they've been friends ever since they were little. Big M sees them sitting outside and calls out to Vic. They stop them, and Vic accuses of Cal being a stalker, and Cal decides to leave. However, they push him into the trunk of their car and lock him in before Vic harasses Cecily. While he learns what's happening, Cal uses all his power to get into the back seat of the car from the inside. Gabriella runs to Vic and pushes him away from Cecily, making him fall. Cecily freaks out and drives off while crying. Borgie apologizes to Cal for not being there for him at the party, but Cal is upset with him and tells him that everyone was laughing at him and calls him a joke before he leaves. In class, Gabriella puts a note on Cal's desk, but he puts it in the trash while she's looking. By the end of the day, he finds his bike's chain broken, meaning that he will be late for work. He tried to call his mom to tell her to drive him to work, but she couldn't respond. He walks all the way to work to learn that he is fired. He gets home and finds his mom sleeping. He sits in the living room for a while and takes his mom's car keys as he decides to leave. He drives to Vic's house and tries to stab his car tire. He pours gas all over the car and lights it up. Cal sees what he's done and runs to his car scared. Hank sees the fire and calls out to Vic, who tries to put it off with a hose. The next day, Cal's mom talks to him as she is leaving for work and tries to give him some money to buy Runt his food and medication. Cal fixes his bike and goes to see Cecily. Her dad opens the door and tells him that she's not home. Cal heads to the place where they share a smoke and waits for Cecily with Runt. He spots Hank in a car and rushes to leave. He followed him but couldn't find him him. Cal drives by a store where they sell weapons and gets in. He lies to the seller saying he's 18. That night at home, he gets a text from Cecily, and she comes to see him. He asks if she's told anyone what happened at Vic's party, but she tells him she didn't. He asks if she's reported it to the police, but she tells him it's complicated as her dad just got back out on probation, and she tells him that he will get angry and might do something that would put him back in prison. She then shows him a video of himself starting the fire on Vic's car and tells him she can't report it because of that too. The next day at school, Cal walks fast through the corridors trying to avoid Vic and his friends. He runs into Borgie, who's been worried about him, and tells him that everybody is saying that he set the car on fire. Borgie apologizes, and Cal learns that he's the one who cut his bike chains. Cal gets angry but leaves. The whole day he spent running away from Vic and his friends by leaving class early and getting in early. They get him by the end of the day and start beating him. Cal grabs the punching rings he bought and punches Hank before he breaks Vic's finger. As Cal is walking home, Ronnie and his friends find him and drive him home. They cheer for him for beating Vic and his friends. Ronnie invites him to go bowling with them. While hanging out with Ronnie, Cal sees a girl named Candace who was there with them. Ronnie tells him that he once accidentally took Ajax instead of his drugs, and that he suffered a lot for a long time. Cal calls Cecily and meets her at his home. He tells her that he found Runt in the fields. She gives him back his punching rings and tells him that he did a good job. As they sat down to watch a movie, Runt wouldn't stop whining, so he locked him outside and went back to Cecily. The next morning, Cal finds Cecily wandering in his room checking out his drawings. She finds his letter, which is sent from Rhode Island, and sees that he didn't open it. She urges him to see it, and they learn that he's not accepted. He prepares Runt his food and calls out to him before he goes out to say goodbye to Cecily. She kisses him and leaves in her car. Cal gets back home and sees that Runt didn't eat his food. He goes outside looking for him, but he couldn't find him. He finally finds the bat that Runt keeps with him, and it's covered with blood. He finds a trail of blood and follows it to end up by the trash can. He looks inside to see Runt inside, but he's dead. He cries and collects Runt's stuff and puts them in a bag. He buries Runt's body with his stuff. Cal goes to school and accuses Vic of killing his dog, but Vic calmly tells him that he didn't do it. Cal leaves and Cecily comes up to him, but he pushes her aside and continues to walk. He goes to the football field and follows Vic with his friends. In the locker room, he finds out that Hank keeps his drugs in his bag. Cecily comes up from behind and asks if something has happened to his dog and if it was Vic who did something to him. He tells her he doesn't know. The football team is having a meeting at the basketball court. Cal walks in just as Vic is making a speech. Ronnie and all his friends see Cal, who they refer to as Man, and they start chanting his name. They push him to the middle of the court with Vic, and he tells him to get out. Cal stood there and told him to make him leave. Vic starts making Runt's whining sounds, and Cal is shocked to learn that he's the one who killed Runt. He leaves the court angry. At the football game, Cal lays out a plan. He hides a bat in a corner. Cecily is looking for Cal, and she asks Borgie if he saw him. Cal goes to the locker room and replaces Hank's drugs with a cleaning powder. In the first half of the game, the other team was leading. Coach Wilkes is angry about their performance, so he gathers the team and tells them to do more in the next game. Vic is not playing since his finger is broken. The whole team hype themselves up to go play. Hank and Big M stay behind and go to get the drug from Hank's bag. They start to scream for help the moment they snort it in. Coach is shocked when he comes to see them, and he goes to get help. Soon the ambulance comes and takes them both to the hospital. Vic stays behind while crying. Borgie and Cecily are looking for Cal, and she tells Borgie that Cal has been acting weird after Runt died. Cal approaches Vic, who's sad over his friends, and confronts him about Runt. He tells him that he's the one who put the powder in Hank's drugs. Vic angrily starts to chase him, and Cal runs to where he hid the bat. He attacks Vic with it, and Vic tells him he came to his house to beat him up, but Runt comes at him, and that was why he killed him. Soon Cecily and Borgie split up to look for Cal. Cal is forcing Vic to apologize to him, but Vic gets him and makes him drop his bat. As Vic is kicking Cal, Borgie finds them and fires his gun. Cal yells at him for showing up and takes the gun. Vic starts to run, but Cal catches up to him and puts the gun on his head, telling him that he wants to pay for what he's done. Cecily shows up and tries to convince Cal that Vic will pay for everything, but not with the gun. So she takes away the gun from his hand and gives him the bat he has dropped. Cal beats him with it and leaves him there. Cecily and Cal walk away from the ally, and he tells her to go home and say that she's been out all night, but she tells him she'll stay with him. He finally asks her to go to the homecoming dance with him, and they walk into the hall holding hands.